this is basically just us coming together and closing off the year, and then that would sort of be like the first half, and then second half would be obviously hello 2023. And for this chat, we've got the amazing and one of the greatest of all time in Meagan, who basically is the brainchild of this session. You know, you wouldn't be here without her, so shout out to Meagan for that one.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got Marcel, who is also one of the best hosts, just incredible with all the bands that he gets to interview and such. We're privileged to be working with someone like him. And then obviously as our special guest, we've got Sam, a lady who is very special in that, you know, throughout the year we've been communicating, and she generally sends, you know, the most amazing feedback, and she has been supporting the show a lot. So it's an honor and a privilege to also have her here and find out more about her. And we obviously have a legend of South Africa, in my opinion, one of the artists who should be one of the biggest artists in the country, in Tamagotchi-JEEZUS. And we've had him multiple times. So if you don't know him by now, perhaps it's a moment you need to just look in the mirror or something, because yeah, this man is a legend. So really awesome to have you guys here, and thank you guys for coming through to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to be here.
So considering that we are looking at sort of the year 2022, sort of closing it off and such, or maybe perhaps we should do like introductions in terms of what each person does. We do already know what Tamagotchi does, but maybe a brief introduction there for anyone who hasn't tuned into any of those episodes. And then Sam, we could also just get a quick intro from yourself as well in terms of what you do. And yeah, we'll basically just take it from there.
Okay. Well, as you said, my name is Tamagotchi-JEEZUS. I'm a performance artist, musician, based in Cape Town now. And yeah, just trying to make as much music and art as possible.
Beautiful. Sam?
Hi there. So I am currently a student. I love podcasts so much. I'm not even sure what to do right now. Basically, I'm a student. I'm studying communication science. I'm also a podcast administrator for a few international clients. Yeah, that's about me, I would say.
What does a podcast administrator do?
Basically, it would definitely mean getting guests for your client. We work on retainer. So that means I bill you per hour for all the work that I do for you throughout the week. And I basically source guests for you. I do a bit of editing, but nothing too serious. And basically sort out hosting for the month and that sort of thing. Make sure it's paid. You know, the very basic administration pieces that you need to do for any podcast.
That's actually very incredible. It brings me to the question, and something that came up when we were talking just before about when Tamagotchi obviously mentioned that, you know, podcasting is such a chilled, you know, sort of thing, and it's very accessible, and it's just a bunch of people chilling and just, you know, chatting and stuff. And then you obviously brought up and Sam that it's anything but the Joe Rogan experience. So I want to know from each of you guys, like, what sort of podcast? I suppose we probably all have experienced or listened to a podcast, each of us. So what sort of content does each person sort of enjoy consuming? Yeah, I mean, maybe we can start with Sam. What sort of stuff do you sort of enjoy consuming when it comes to podcasts and such?
So I love anything podcast, to be honest. I think it's such a cool thing to be able to sit down and have a conversation. No one does that these days at all. So yeah, it's so cool that you can sit down without the distraction of a phone and just have a chat. I love anything podcast. My favorite ones are most probably like psychology. I've listened to a really good one recently called Psychology in Your 20s. It's amazing. Just check it out. And then I also love anything sports related. I don't listen to anything like you guys. I know that you love your soccer and football ones. I love skateboarding, so I listen to Hawk versus Wolf a lot. It's Tony Hawk and Jason Ellis.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah. I can't recall any others right now, but yeah, I do love a podcast. Love Sludge Underground.
Yeah, same.
Weirdly enough, I don't listen to like any music podcasts. I listen to like Warhammer and Warhammer lore because
Oh,
like
wow,
that's
dude.
I'm obsessed with 40k and
Yo, dude, I also used to play Warhammer. That's amazing.
I haven't been playing the tabletop game, but the lore,
Mhm.
I'm absolutely like balls deep invested in Warhammer lore. So yeah,
But I mean, it's quite a rich. I mean, there's plenty of lore, which is quite cool, dude. It can get deep.
yeah, it's stupid deep.
I think it's kind of awesome though that it seems like, I'm not going to say none of us, but it does seem like a general thing where, as much as this is a music based or music focused podcast that we're all sort of on right now, it's like we each, basically listen to sort of different, like as Sam said, I listen to like soccer. Like if you had to look at the podcast that I listen to, it's mainly just football, 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 football.
What's the go-to football podcast in your opinion?
I would say it depends. Like, there are different sort of, types. If you are maybe an Arsenal supporter, there are going to be podcasts that are focused on like Arsenal. There are going to be ones that are focused on Chelsea and such. But if you're wanting maybe like a general sort of roundup, it's the mainstream stuff. Like, ESPN FC is a good one because like ESPN just covers, all the teams and covers all the sports and such. Another good one is the Transfer Window podcast where they cover like transfers, incoming players, outgoing players and all that there. So yeah, I'd say those two, you wouldn't go wrong if you sort of started off with those two there. On your end, Tama, which ones do you sort of listen to?
Well, aside from Sludge, obviously, it's crazy. Like, I got into a few comedy podcasts where it's comedians, and obviously they are naturally funny people, but you usually see their refined product in the form of stand-up. And to see comedians, they're more just talking about their life experiences, but the way these storytellers communicate stories is often through humor. And it's amazing to see them talking about their life stories. And then obviously there's some comedy gold in there as well, but it also makes them seem so much more complex than just funny guys, funny people. And I also listen to a great podcast, which I suggest you guys all dip into, called Ear Hustle, which is based out of the San Quentin sort of prison. I think it's in California. But yeah, it's basically hosted by one of the volunteers there, as well as inmates as well. And it really takes a deep dive into what being incarcerated feels like and is like. And, some of these people speaking are in there for, even committing murder, but it starts to humanize. You get to see a human side to people who are incarcerated. And I think with a prison system, they're designed to shun or push those people out of society into like a place and an institution where we just kind of can easily forget about them. And it's just a fascinating look into a space that most of us have such a very like shallow understanding of.
That's like
Damn, that sounds
pretty interesting.
dude.
Like I never actually considered that there would be.
No, it's honestly, it's amazing.
Yeah, you would hear some rough shit out of that. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also get the most touching stories.
How would you maybe feel, say, for example, if the person that is locked up maybe committed a crime against someone, that you love or like as a family member or whatever? Would you sort of view them in that sort of manner as well, in the way in which they are perceived in those podcasts?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you kind of ask yourself that question all the time when you're listening, like, fuck, would I be as sympathetic or at least willing to listen to this person's story? But I must say, they have masterfully and artfully and very tenderly broached the way stories are told. And yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that has done so well. And I think I'll just say anyone should just go listen to it, and you'll get a an understanding of how they navigate doing a podcast with incarcerated people. Yeah, it's just very well done.
Brilliant. I hope everyone does check that out as well. Meagan, yours, what are you listening to, or what have you been listening to?
I don't really listen to podcasts, but a lot of the video essayists convert their content into a podcast episode. So half counts.
Definitely does. Like, one of the interesting questions though as well is that what is, like, how do you guys consume your podcast? Because there's obviously like this whole split sort of thing where a lot of people are consuming YouTube content, like visual stuff. And then you still get things like obviously your Spotify's and your Apple podcasts and all that there that cater to the audio and such. So how does each person sort of consume their podcasts? Like, I only listen to them. I don't really watch them. So does that even matter to you guys at all? How do you guys consume podcasts?
To be honest, dude, like I am severely like ADHD, so it's like I cannot sit and just listen to something. Unfortunately, like I have to keep myself busy in multiple ways. If I'm not overstimulated, I'm bored. So I'll generally have shit going when I'm like doing dishes in the shower or doing something that I can listen to as a side thing so that I don't get bored over either task, if that makes sense.
Yeah, same. Well, like what I was meaning as well is that is I don't just like put it on and chill. Obviously, like I'll put it on my way to work, maybe put it on if I'm like gaming or something, but that totally makes sense. So you'd say audio then, but then also while doing something as opposed to maybe physically watching it on YouTube type thing.
Generally YouTube, to be honest, actually. Like now that you mention it, generally through YouTube.
Sam, is it the same for you?
No, not really. I tend to put my earpods in and just walk around the house and do cleaning and stuff like that. I love to be kept busy by podcasts then. In my day-to-day tasks, other than that, I don't listen to a podcast actually. I sometimes find that it can be very consuming and you always feel like you need that content all the time, like you need the radio or something. And I honestly love quiet. So I try to only listen when I do cleaning or that sort of thing, you know? But yes, only Spotify, only audio.
Tama, is it the same for you?
A bit of both. I think, well, the ones I mentioned, the comedy ones, I tend to watch on YouTube. But yeah, with the Ear Hustle one, I listen to just audio. A few others I listen to audio, yeah. It's kind of a mix and match kind of thing.
Sick. This year, guys, overall though, how has it been for each person? What have you guys sort of been listening to? If we had to go into your Spotify playlist right now, which actually, if you look at your Spotify Wrapped, which artist was like at the top of that?
Polyphia.
Oh, wow, yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Polyphia. Apparently I was in the top 2% of the listen base.
Damn.
I'm a guitar nerd.
What are they? Are they like metal?
I've played you Polyphia, dude. Don't do me dirty
Is
like
it those guys? Wait, is it those guys?
Marcy, you're the only other person that I know of other than Sean that knows Polyphia, and I don't have to tell you about them because they're amazing and everyone needs to know.
Dude, like, weirdly enough, one of my favorite things at the moment is that thing that they did with Sophia, and that's, dude, it's so catchy. It's so goddamn good.
They're clever, hey? Oof.
They really are. And then they did the Steve Vai thing.
Naz, you would dig them.
Like Naz, I'll play you some Polyphia sometime. I'll send you some songs. But they did so like they're my new guitar idols. They're like, you know, they're like modern legends. You know, they're like fucking legends in the making at this point. And they did a song recently with Steve Vai, who is one of my OG guitar heroes. So when I saw that Steve Vai was doing a song with Polyphia, like I literally fucking like spasmed and foamed at the mouth.
Yeah, I mean they're all over the internet.
Are they like Chris and Wandile good?
Like they would be the kind of guys that they would look up to, kind of deal. Tim Henson is quite literally, yeah, dude. Tim Henson is like, it's even Scotty, dude. Scotty LePage doesn't get as much limelight as as Tim does, but dude, they're unbelievably unbelievably good. They've sort of changed the landscape of guitar playing, and they've inspired like a lot of the shit that you see bands doing, like instrumentally and stuff like that, has been a result of Polyphia changing things up.
And you know what? Like, I haven't like really listened to them much, but I've seen, obviously they're all over YouTube. And when it comes to guitar, you know, guitar sort of based music, it goes through dips and dives where like sort of reaches this peak, and then everyone kind of starts emulating the same thing, and then it takes ages for someone to approach the guitar in a way that is fresh. I mean, and I feel like they're doing that quite well.
Yeah, and their sound has evolved so much, even now since like their debut, like sort of thing that got them some mainstream success. The sound has changed so much from there. It's still distinctly Polyphia, but dude, it's fucking unreal.
And you know what I appreciate about them as a guitar player myself, like, you know, when you see these guitar players who are super technical and they're like whacking the guitar and like doing hammer-ons and pull-offs and harmonics at the same time and at like a frightening speed. These guys have that skill and ability, but it's servicing the song. It's not just to be like, wow, look at me
it's
shred.
not just guitar wankery.
Really
it's like
it's exactly.
It's unbelievably well thought out as well. Like if you watch any breakdown of a Polyphia song where like a music teacher or some like theorist is watching their music, a lot of their comments are, how the fuck did these guys, how does their thought process work to come up with this?
Yeah, no, love it. Yeah.
Naz is having a chuckle at guitar wankery.
Fucking killed me, bro.
But that's like an actual term in fucking, I don't know if you guys have played live much, but like that was one of the first sort of lessons I learned from a mentor who was in our band. He's an older guy. And he's like, listen, man, you don't ever fall into the trap of like guitar wankery where you just sit there and like have a solo that's like 3 minutes long and shit. Like, it's just,
it's actually a genuine term amongst guitarists. Like,
yeah, it is a genuine term.
It's incredible. It's the first time I'm hearing of it, so I had to just laugh at that, especially because Marcel is saying it's. You never know if it's like an actual term or. Yeah, only Marcy. But Sam, who's at the top? Who's at the top of your Spotify rap?
So I discovered Just Ginger this year, but like I've always known who they are, but like discovered. So I'll tell you my statistic for Just Ginger. You spent 1,600 minutes together. You were in the top 0.1% of Just Ginger listeners this year. If that doesn't say it all. I really love Just Ginger. Specifically their first album, All Comes Round. And I listened to nothing else. I pretty much,
Has anyone ever been to a Just Ginger show?
No, I'm so sad about that.
I think I might have, but this is like this has been like a decade or so ago, like when I was like fresh out of high school, actually still in high school. But didn't they go to the States for a while and they changed the name to Just Ginger with a J? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, they were pretty big, eh?
Apparently so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty massive. But there's that one song that I don't know. I wouldn't say like a one-hit wonder or whatever, because obviously there's like, if Sam loves their stuff, then it means that they do have other stuff. You know that other song that, what's it called, Sam? Like their main one, like the most successful
Stand in Your
one.
Way, Shallow Waters, Father and Father. There's so many.
Okay, well, now you're going to have to sing it, Nas. That's the rule. You've got to say, and it goes like this. 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 3.
I like you madly, like you madly.
Oh, yes, that's Like You Madly. That was literally my top song.
Was that the title?
For the whole year.
Oh, dude. Such a banger. Is that the first one that you heard and then you were like, Just Ginger?
No, my favorite song is Stand in Your Way. It's so good. Okay, so wherever you're from, Devon, Cape Town, I know that's where Tam is from. Where are the best places to go for a nice jawl? Because I just don't know anymore.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I haven't been in Cape Town long enough to find all the great jawls, but for live music, I know that place I've played at the most is called the House of Machines. It's like kind of a weird venue. It's like super small. It doesn't have a stage, but for some reason they have huge acts there, like Marcel and Meagan, and like I don't know, a bunch of other big ones. But they also then have nights where anyone can go up and play. Like it's called the Songwriters Showcase. It's really fun. And then there's Armchair and Observatory, and then like shake your booty to some cool like sort of DJ music where they play like fusion stuff like Latin dance and old school jazz. It's like really, really fun, like on vinyls. You can go to the
awesome.
social club, very fun. As well as Hanks, I think it's called. Yeah. Oh, and then there's another one called Ham Shack Radio, which is just as cool, where it's a radio station and also a bar, and like they have the DJs playing live. You can be dancing, but that's actually being streamed out live on a radio station, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Wow, that sounds really cool.
That's really awesome. And I think there's also, like, considering that Meagan is from Joburg, Tama, you are in Cape Town, Sam, you're here in Durban. I think there's like a nice blend. Like we've got 3 of the big sort of, points within the country. So it's nice getting some of this insight. So in Durban, we've had, obviously, Winston closed down. So
did it close?
They had to be, yeah, man, it closed down.
Oh, we played there. It was so much fun, dude.
Yeah, it's really sad. The last show was really emotional as well. It was just, they had like this entire weekend booked out for just different genres, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh,
it was incredible. But so with that closing down, there had to be sort of plans had to be made, and bands got together. Cliffy and them started this event at a place called Robson's Real Beer. It's like a restaurant and a brewery as well. And since he spearheaded that, there's literally just been shows there almost every weekend. So it's become sort of like a venue as much as it's a restaurant. Yeah. And then you also have the Westville Warehouse, which is also sort of like a restaurant type vibe, and a brewery as well, I think. But it's also now just, bands are playing there almost every weekend, even bands that are coming down from Joburg. And
sick. Wow.
There, I've seen a lot of shows being done at Ace's Pizza. I've never been there personally, but there's almost always a gig there, and they also seem to be accepting a lot of the hip-hop artists as well there.
Sick,
and last night we had a show at Origin, which is like a nightclub type thing, but hopefully with how well last night went, who knows, there could be, it could be the start of a new venue. So it's just literally been just artists that have been going out and looking for opportunities at like restaurants, breweries, or whatever, and then once the owners realize that it's a successful night whenever bands are there, then they sort of start taking it on a lot more often. So I wouldn't say the Winston's demise is sort of like a blessing in disguise or whatever, but it's sort of resulted in all these new venues popping up and different opportunities,
like a refresh button kind of. Yeah, I mean,
yes, definitely.
It's always sad, dude. The nostalgia in places like they no longer are just like brick walls and windows that have shows. They become this. They have this kind of history that feels like a personality. And Winston was one of those. But also, things do come and go. Even an institution like Winston.
Yeah, exactly, man. At the end of the day, you just have to be grateful for all the memories.
Yeah.
A lot of the bands that, started, because of the Winston and got to play there and such. So, yeah, man, it's really incredible what you're saying. And the fact that you've also played there is really just incredible.
Fun. And what was interesting about our time playing in KZN when we toured up there was, especially the Winston, like we didn't know what to expect. We got up there and we were like a rock, jazz, funk fusion band. And then I'm sure you know Mouse. Do you know Mouse, the band?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do, yeah.
So they played that
Chris.
night as well. With those two, Chris and
Damon.
Damon. Yeah, man, those guys. Damon is a fucking whiz.
Incredible. 10 out of 10.
Dude, he is incredible stage press.
They were the second ever band we've had on Sludge Underground, I think.
Oh, dude, they're so good.
Shout out. Yeah.
But yeah, so they were playing with us, and then what was interesting was there was this this group who were playing before us, and it was not really a group, it was just like dudes playing like I think they were on vinyl or like having backing tracks, and it was like almost like a free-for-all spoken word rap hip-hop type of thing. And there was this guy in his like 50s or something, old bro, and he was like, dude, it was just incredible that, because usually places tend to like book out a night with people in a similar kind of genre range, but what I enjoyed in KZN, it seems like those kind of quote-unquote rules don't apply, and it actually makes for a richer experience for both the viewers and the performers. It's super, super cool.
Yeah, it definitely does. But yeah, I mean, as you said as well, I like what you said about, things come to an end. We last night's show that we did at Origin was basically like a Burn reunion. There used to be a venue called Burn here in Durban. It was before my time though. I think I was still in high school. And that was also one of the biggest venues. I think after Burn closed down, we had Live the Venue, which was probably the best experience we've had here in Durban.
Yeah.
Probably almost like Sonage in a way because of how incredible the sound was. We used to get all the major bands coming down to Durban and playing that venue. Like it was back when Shadow Club was still massive.
Yeah, dude. Those
it was
guys.
back when like Jeremy Loops would frequent Durban and play there. The sound was like international and everything, and obviously that also closed down. But yeah, just to answer Sam's question, it's the venues that I mentioned. I know Marcel will probably also add to this if he has anything to add. But it's obviously, as I said, it's the Westville Warehouse, Robson's Real Beer. Yeah,
I loved Warehouse, so good. One of the best venues that I've been to that was just like really cool to have like live music at though recently was at Stump Nose Brewery. It's across the road from Stokers, if you know where that is.
yeah,
Here in Durban.
as well. Yeah.
I actually saw Marcel there, so Marcel pop up. But like it was just so cool because there were like just such good vibes. I saw Daggers there for the first time, I think. And yeah, the scene is just getting so much better than it was, and I'm just enjoying it so much.
Definitely.
Also, my friends were there. Marcel, feel free to comment. I think it's Ryan and Jaden. I think they actually made that night for me because of how crazy they're going. They were trying their hardest to create a mosh and failing. And operating from something called a boot bar, which is like a bottle of vodka and take a sip of Coke at the same time. If you know, you know. So yeah, that was actually such a cool venue. I think they must have more shows there.
Yeah, your mate sent my adopted musical child flying in that attempted mosh. They absolutely destroyed poor little Levi.
Shout out Levi.
Levi got fucking flattened.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no. But they were like dancing outside, and a whole bunch of people got out of a taxi and started dancing with them. I even put like the video on TikTok, but it was just such a vibe. Like, really, it was.
Yeah, they started doing push-ups, like one-armed push-ups. I can barely fucking stand up straight.
One-armed push-ups, that's a flex.
Definitely. To sum up Sam's question, I even wrote it down so I don't forget. We've got the Warehouse, venues that you have to check out in Durban. Thank you for asking the question, Sam. It's the Westville Warehouse, Robson's Real Beer, Stump Nose, as Sam mentioned, and also the Vern, which is one I just remembered now, which is all the way out in Howick. Those seem to be the most active right now. So if you want to check out where all the good stuff is happening, Sam, those would be the places.
A quick question for you guys up that side. There was a place called something like Music in the Hills or something, which is in...
Oh yeah, Myth. I don't even know if that's still happening, dude. I'm going to check quickly.
Dude, that was an amazing venue to play at. Wow.
Yeah, I played a Music in the Hills once.
Oh.
Yeah, Matt Gardner was actually playing there earlier this year, so... But is it a venue though?
Dude,
is it like
very
an actual,
intimate.
Like, venue type thing, or is it sort of like an events market?
It's like it looks like a guest house or something, but then they also have this big barn, and then it's really cool, dude. Everyone there is clearly like an audiophile who, like, I mean, we had people in their 60s there, and it's like Shackles and Bones, the funk rock band, and they were there with us 100% of the way. It was super cool. Lovely venue.
Yeah, if it's still going, then it's one to check out. There's also opportunities if you go to the Shongweni market on Saturdays and Sundays. you tend to get, a lot of the acoustic artists sort of playing there. But this isn't really a venue. It's more like a thing that is sort of hosted somewhere.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Myth group now, and I see that there were shows as recently as like November. There's videos as recently as like from like like a week or two ago. So yeah, they're still definitely doing stuff.
Great. When this is done, I've also got a question for you guys.
All right. So I think let's just round up Joburg. Maybe Meags places to hit that side if Sam wants to come through to Joburg.
Well, I saw a really, really cool band at Sludge a while back, Thorns of Ivory. It was really dope. Made me want to go back.
Hey.
So...
Oh, God, dude, the guitarist of that band is such a puss, though.
No, he's the best. He's the best, the drummer.
That drummer's terrible, sorry.
So there, Sludge in Randburg.
Dude, no one in that band knows what they're doing.
They do though. I witnessed it with my own eyes. You can't insult my taste like that, Marcel.
You've got shit taste, I'm sorry.
Yo. And then Pretoria side, check out Railways. They're really eclectic and friendly. So it's a good time.
Awesome. Tama, your question, sir.
Okay, so this is my question I've been dying to ask all of you. Since we are talking about music in South Africa, and this podcast is kind of doing the good work of shining a light on our amazing talent, I wanted to ask everyone, as we wind up and end off 2022, give me like 3 South African bands or musicians or producers that you sort of feel are either underrepresented, or maybe not even that, just 3 South African musicians or bands that you've really like been turned on to, like that you really dig.
Okay, can I go first, please?
Yeah.
So I love SA music. Literally, Naz and I were talking about it, but my top 5 bands, literally, it's all South Africans, So there's that. But, okay, here's my top, 3 people. So first off would definitely be Graham Watkins' project. Absolutely love. They haven't released much music recently, but it's what it is. But their album Corridors of the Mind is on repeat every single day. Don't you worry. And I would say, so Graham Watkins, Bad Peter, they're so good. I know that they have been interviewed on Sludge. And my third one would definitely be Rubber Duck, but that's just because I love the sound. It's too good. They are so great. I know they're more of a Joburg band, but really they are just ones to look out for.
No, for me it's been...
What kind of music are they?
Sorry, carry on. Ask the question. Yeah. Go.
Sorry, I was curious. Like, what if for the listeners? Like, could you give us like a little taste of what like each band is or is like? What kind of music are they making?
Okay, perfect. So I would say when it comes to, which one did I say first? Graham Watkins. It is a little bit more like, how do I even describe it? It's like got a rock vibe to it, definitely. But I know they said in the past that they consider their music to be a bit more on like the electro side, which I don't really understand. But yeah, just like rock. It's really good. Like what kind of genre are they actually?
I think both Bad Peter and Rubber Duck would fall under indie here.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're indie rock.
I agree. But I don't know, like when it comes to Graham, I don't even know what his sound is, to be honest.
Hold on, let me go listen to Graham Watkins quickly, and I'll give you a rough idea.
Do you feel like Rubber Duck? And who else did you mention? Sorry, there, Sam. You said Rubber Duck and who?
Bad Peter.
And okay, I see Bad Peter. Do you feel like Rubber Duck is underrepresented though? Because they're on radio. They play flipping.
Oh yeah, that's true.
In Durban, they play the biggest shows.
But you know what? I suppose it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said underrepresented, I guess. But yeah.
I feel like no one's heard of them in Durban. I've heard their songs on East Coast radio for sure. But I'm not even joking about this. When I went to go and see Jeremy Loops, Rubber Duck was playing. And every single person in the crowd, when their one popular song, I think it's called Through the Night, started playing. And everyone was literally like, oh, it's those people. They are like super unknown outside of Joburg. It's crazy.
But here in Durban, I'd argue they are pretty I mean, as you said, they were playing, alongside Jeremy Loops. I think I've seen them at St.
True.
Paul's Pro as well. They obviously, you said the radio thing.
So
So
a brief listen of Graham Watkins. Sorry to interrupt you. Then, yeah, there's definitely elements of electro in it, but it's probably falls under indie rock as well. To be honest.
Oh, do you think so? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely like I can hear the electro stuff, but there's definitely like some indie vibes in there as well. So there's more chill vibes as well.
But Sam, I agree with you with Graham Watkins' project. One of my favorite songs ever is Bloodshot Eyes. Really, really love that song.
Yes,
It's
love.
incredible. And
You have a backstory to it because you used to listen to it on the way to varsity, hey?
oh my gosh,
Something like that.
no ways. When? How do you remember that?
I've listened
can't
to,
believe
can I be
you remember
honest? I've listened to that episode of Sludge like 3 times. 3 times. Because I loved all the storytelling and just every aspect of it was so good. So that's how I know.
Thank you so much for that, Sam. Even I had forgotten about that, but yeah, it's really incredible song, really dope list that you sent through. So thank you for that, there, Sam. And on my end, I would say, firstly, shout out to Meagan for this one. I'm gonna name the three. Consists of a band and 2 hip hop artists. And I'm answering Tamagotchi's question in terms of underrepresented, as much as he did say he didn't really, want to proceed down that line. But I feel like an underrepresented artist within hip hop, thank you, Meagan, once again for this one, is New Edison. New Edison should be on, like, he should be mainstream. Like, he should be. And this always shows me that I feel like the powers that be and the people that sort of control whatever's in the mainstream, if there are people or if it's algorithm or whatever, can get it wrong. Because someone like New Edison has all the tools, to make it, I believe, as a mainstream artist. So New Edison would be first. And then secondly, let me get the hip hop guys out the way. Venus Raps is the second one. Purely because she's just so hardworking and she does everything herself. And when I had that interview with her, the things she was telling me about, being homeless at some stage, jumping from studio to studio, people backstabbing her and all that there. And then if you look at the content that she's been releasing on like YouTube and just how she does everything herself, it's just the connections she's making. She's got that sports scene thing, collaboration going and all that there. That's all her. So I feel like she's really underrepresented as well. She could definitely be in the mainstream and she could literally wrap circles around any of the mainstream guys. And then my final is South Walls, a band from Toti in Durban, who I really feel like, as I always tell them as well, I feel like with this sort of stuff that they're making, it's sort of like indie, like super chill stuff. But I honestly felt like a few years ago when I interviewed them that, you had Gangs of Ballet being probably the biggest band in Durban at that time. And I felt like South Wolves were on their way to being the next, sort of Gangs of Ballet. And I was really sad to hear that, they may not be, as active as they used to be. But that is a band that I also feel like is very underrepresented. If you listen to their stuff, it sounds very commercial. It's relatable and I really enjoy it. They're really cool guys as well. So I'd say those are the three, artists and bands that are sort of underrepresented in my opinion. Besides, obviously, I wouldn't have mentioned Tamagotchi because he is part of this episode, but he will know. I tell him all the time. So he's like MJ Big in an alternative universe. So yeah.
So for me, there's the two that immediately jump to mind. So one, to answer Thomas' question, like exactly as it was asked, underrated. For me, is a hip hop artist named Lungelo Manzi. I fucking love Lungelo Manzi's music. He's just everything about it is fantastic, and just not enough people know about the dude. And he's been in the newspaper recently, or in a paper. He's been doing incredibly hard work, and he's such a talented artist. It is unbelievable. I rave about his shit every time I get the chance. And then the next one would be not necessarily underrated, but it would be Sunken State. That band, that is some heavy shit. I love it. And they're also just incredibly talented musicians. Everything is super polished and so well done.
Lungelo Manzi, what a brilliant name to bring up, dude. Shout out. He's incredible. He's incredible, dude.
Yeah, no, dude, he's honestly, man.
Yeah, enough said, dude. I get you.
Meegs, have you had a chance?
I've got so many.
3.
So
max.
many. Okay, but you asked for 3. Okay. Champion Trees. Okay. They have a beautiful album out called Now 3000. It's like sad boy acoustic vibes. Kinsman. They have an album called Window to the Ashram, and it's really, really cool Indo jazz. They're a trio. And then Things Found in Corners. It's brand new by Heat Death, which is just face melting synth all the way through.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
Nice. And yours, Summer?
I'm writing all of these down, by the way. I've got a nice long list.
Nice, man.
Well, you stole one of mine. I also was going to say New Edison. Really agree with everything you said. I feel like it's only a matter of time before he blows up. And second would be a band or group called Lemon Dove, and it's one of the people on this podcast is associated.
Shout out.
Meegs. I hope I didn't make you blush, but yeah,
You cheated. Tell me you cheated.
Did I cheat?
You cheated.
No, it's amazing stuff. Like the first time I heard it, blown away by the arrangement of songs and the versatility of like the instrumentation. So I'd recommend everyone go check them out. And then who was the last one? Oh, there's a guy called The Mind of the Least Important that I was actually chatting with for a while for like a collaboration a few years ago. And I just looked him up now and all his stuff is gone. I think he's like just swiped all his stuff off for whatever reason. So that's unfortunately lost, I think. And this one is not someone who is underappreciated, but I've just been obsessed with Marcus Harvey lately. Like, obsessed.
Brilliant.
But I'm sure most of the people have heard of his work. But yeah, you guys should go check it out. It's like, for me, it feels, and I think we've spoken about this before, Nas, is like an international sound. And that's not meaning we should lose our South African identity and try and strive to be international. What it means for me is that it's music done in a way that is both high fidelity and quality, but also able to access and pique the interests of people abroad while still maintaining that sort of identity, the South African identity, I guess. So yeah, those guys are the. Oh, and then a little shout out to Money Badu. She's cool.
Shout out. Thank you for recommending Marcus Harvey as well, dude. I instantly picked up those international vibes you're talking about. I instantly thought of Anderson .Paak, but not that he's, like a direct copy or anything like that. But it's like he could be on the same lineup as someone like that and fit right in type thing. So yeah, totally. really brilliant. It's really awesome that you also mentioned Lemon Dove there, because I was gonna do like just a quick sort of like shout outs to ones that aren't on that 3 that I mentioned as well. Obviously them being one of them, but it would have been the equivalent of me saying Thorns of Ivory, is in that should be in that list type thing. But also a quick shout out to Trevor Anderson and Chris Snakes, who I feel are 2 of the most underrated to come out of Durban. So shout out to those guys as well. Does that conclude this round of these? Tama, do you have the names down?
I've got them down. I've got a long list now.
Hope to see a collaboration soon, man.
Yeah.
At least one of them. Meegs, do you have a question that you wanted to ask in your end?
So when you were talking about a distinct South African element, what do you mean by that? Like, what is that actually? What makes it South African?
Fuck, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not really something we can identify because, as as we know, South Africa is so broad and wide, and I don't know what I mean by that in words. It's just about you know how we approach the notion of authenticity in anything. If you see something that is not authentic, you can tell, and it's quite jarring. And I think it's more that you can't feel that jarring inauthenticity. That it just kind of feels appropriate. And so it's not a very clear. It's not something we can put our finger on and be like, here it is. That's what that identity is, because that's impossible. But I think we've all listened to music or seen performers on stage or spoken to a person and been like, that person, there is something inauthentic there, or they're performing or trying to be something they're not. And I think, yeah, so we've all experienced that. And with those musicians I mentioned, I don't feel any of that. Just feels right.
For me, I feel like it could be a way that you could identify it would be if an artist uses anything that you would sort of associate with just South Africa in a way. Say, for example, any artist that takes hip hop, which is something that is not from South Africa, and incorporates their mother tongue. If maybe it's a Zulu person, maybe get on a hip hop beat, but just rap in isiZulu. Or if it's a vendor person, get on a hip hop beat, but rap in isiVenda. It's basically them just taking an international sound and localizing it. I don't know if localizing is even a word, but adding that local element to it, that makes them South African, because you're not going to get isiVenda in America. You're not going to get isiZulu in America. It's something that you'll find here in South Africa. And I think another way you could probably identify it would be maybe, the indigenous stuff, like if we're looking at this, like Phuzekemisi and such, and the stuff that Ukatasi is doing, like Umaskandi and Mbakanga and all those sort of genres that originated here, something like Ikomu, something like what's that big thing now? Amapiano and stuff like stuff that you'd say originates from here. It didn't start in America or in England. Also, another thing as well is it's not necessarily similar to what I was talking about right now, but another sort of South African sort of sound I find is a lot of the stuff that was done by bands like Short Straw, I think, was one of them. There's this beat. I don't know if it's like a taxi beat or what it is, but you get this. There's this sound that is done by a band like Short Straw. I actually don't know of any other example. I'm terrible, but there's a sort of signature sound that you'll hear. That's sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, but you get it.
Yeah, they also, even in their guitar melodies and some of the sort of scales they use,
the guitar melodies and such.
It's a lot of the rhythmic elements that give away that it's a South African artist.
Yeah, and it's infiltrating out. It's like the irony is now that it's South Africa's music scene, for whatever reason, has now got a spotlight on it, and it's now influencing the world, and that's amazing.
Question that I have and wanted to ask is, who is an artist that fell away this year that you are going to miss? Who's an artist that called it quits this year, that kind of that broke your heart, and you really wish that it didn't have to be?
For me, as I said, I mentioned them earlier, South Wolves, as much as they're still performing, but they're not really making any new music or anything like that. In fact, in one of the episodes, Evan Hope was mentioning to me that he's now a hip-hop artist. Joel, who is their drummer, he's now focusing more on his hip-hop, and obviously what's his name, Ricky, their bassist, is now more on the photography side of things, and obviously Eric, the vocalist, has got a family and such. So that there is literally just a project where now they just, if anyone wants them to gig, they'll come together for that. But in terms of making anything new as a band or whatever, they're not really sort of doing that or focusing on that at the moment. So I'd say I'm really bummed that South Wolves isn't really, going on, specifically or in the way that they used to. that's the first band that came to my mind. So yeah, it's them, and they're local guys as well. So shout outs. Who do we have next? Tama?
Well, I've actually already mentioned them in the previous section, but yeah, the mind of the least important. Like I literally found out right now while searching for him that he has scrubbed his existence off the internet. So yeah, really sad that there's not even the old tracks to go back to. But yeah, he was really cool, man. I actually always thought he was gonna do great things. But yeah, so he's someone that we've missed out on.
Nice one, bro. Sam?
So I'm honestly not too sure who I can even mention. I can't think of anyone at all. Do Beastie Boys still make music?
I think they made a comeback.
Because I feel like I haven't heard anything from them ever. Besides that, no one. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Meagan?
I also can't really think of anyone who I know that has officially quit. I know there's quite a few bands and acts that haven't really made a comeback in terms of activity since the pandemic. So I'm hoping they're just kind of reinventing themselves. There's Them Dirty Shrikes. They're not quitting, but they're going to make a big change. So I'm sad about them not being that anymore, but still keen to see what they become.
Nice. Marcel?
For me, it's Climate Control. Hey? They threw in the towel this year, and that was probably one of my favorite local bands of all time. Like when I first started making music, they were present in the scene. I remember seeing them on stage, being holy shit, I want to be this level of musician. And then listening to their music and just how tight everything was, how good their stage performances were, and just everything about that band and how they handled how the tones of their instruments, just how well polished everything was. When they called it quits, I was really bleak about that. Nick, the vocalist, is still making music, so I follow him. And yeah, but man, that one broke my heart.
That's actually cool, dude. What sort of stuff is he doing?
He's mostly doing like solo projects and stuff. You know, he's been making like experimenting with different genres. I know that he is doing a little project on the side now with Luca, who is the original drummer for Climate Control, who is an absolute beast of a drummer.
Oh, nice.
And that sounds a lot heavier than what even like Climate Control used to be. So I'm quite keen.
Nice, dude. Good shots. Really cool guys. We had a chat with them as well during lockdown, and yeah, they gave the most wholesome takes on just everything. So really awesome, cool, like really, really good shot there. My question, guys, is basically in relation to something that was brought up by the guys from Blood Honey. My question basically stems off something that was said in that episode, and that there aren't really any bands right now that sort of aspire or that are reaching the heights that the likes of like just Ginger Sam mentioned earlier, going international back in the day, the likes of Flip, what other bands could we say? Maybe Polytones,
Seether went as well.
Sarin Gas, Seether, and all those bands, you know, from here back in the day that, you know, thrived, say, overseas and internationally. So what do you guys think is missing from today's bands that the bands in the early 2000s maybe had, that maybe these bands right now don't have, in order to get to that level of like international sort of success and recognition?
Weirdly enough, like this conversation came up with my chat with Wade, with Wade Flowerday, and I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it was a case of it's not from a lack of trying, but there's very few people who are able to pull the type of charisma or the type of following that bands like, for instance, like Fuck Off and those kind of guys are doing, where it's an experience, it's a sensation. It's, you know, people are like fucking dying to go watch these guys play. And I think it's something that'll come with due time. Like legends will surface, you know, legends in the making will surface, all those kind of things. But I think it's just that we've experienced a dip in the South African music scene, and we're currently on the rise again. So let's see what comes out of it.
You know, Marcel, I was literally going to reference exactly what you were just saying, the Wade Flower Day episode. It's exactly that, hey? It's like the experience is just, yeah. And I feel like also sometimes it's just like the artists are committed to their own thing. The people within the band are just committed to their own stuff, like their day job. And honestly, it's just gotten to the point where it's just a bit more of a hobby than anything these days. No one thinks that they're going to make it big because everything's digital now and there's no radio play for that many local artists. And yeah, I see a lot of that too. I'm like, why could you not be the biggest band in the world? Why not? Because you're so good. But it doesn't happen.
Very well said there, Sam. Tama?
Sure, I don't actually know the answer to that question. I mean, I wonder if it's got anything to do with how everything is so like online now. I don't know. Like, are artists being satisfied with making music here in South Africa, but still getting exposure overseas? Because that is happening a little bit, you know. I think, I mean, the JEEZUS are doing pretty well for themselves. I mean, they had one of their tracks feature on Shameless, the TV series. Yeah, and they've got like 1 million listens like that. And yeah, I mean, they tour around, but it's like, I think the age of like relocating is to a new place is not as common. But the reason why, I don't know why. Yeah.
I think there's so many factors involved, you know.
Yeah. Continue, Marcy.
Yeah, just like there's so many factors. Like I said, it's not for a lack of trying. I think it's not, you can't put the pressure solely on the artist for that. It has a lot to do with the infrastructure regarding the music scene in South Africa. It's still very much like fledgling. You know, we don't have the same, you know, type of venues or infrastructure for music, those kind of things, where, you know, there's companies that are literally designed to promote artists and to, you know, help them create these kind of atmospheres. And that's one thing about South Africans. They just make do with what they've got. They just keep trying no matter. And that's why I think that as things improve, we're going to see more that early 2000s, there's going to be a resurgence of bands of that standard. There already are. Like, there's already bands that are drawing followings that people like, I'm going to go watch that band hands down without fail, you know, and people raving about local artists. We're going to have another wave of that, I guarantee it.
Nice, dude. Keen to check that up, and very valid when you say it's a mixture of things. Like for me, I feel like it's also like genres and stuff, because maybe in the early 2000s, the mainstream genres were probably, you know, your Sum 41 and all those bands and stuff. All of that was at the forefront. All those Pink, Avril Lavigne, probably terrible examples, Nickelback and all those guys, you know, they were topping the charts. Whereas in 2022, the people that are topping the charts are your Travis Scotts, your Kanye's and all that. So perhaps there's not as much focus now on alternative sort of music, like it's not at the forefront. As you guys all know, we go through different sort of like shifts and periods and stuff. There was a time, I think maybe in like 2007 to 2010 maybe, where like EDM was at the forefront of everything. It was like just EDM was the number one type thing. And then obviously now I feel like it's more of like K-pop being at the forefront of everything. So obviously that has a lot of influence on the sort of music, you know, that is maybe, you know, being people are listening to and such. Maybe not as many people are listening to bands to a point where they can be successful enough to be a South African band and get a following overseas type thing, you know, because that sort of genre isn't at the forefront anymore like it was back then. So perhaps that could be one of the reasons. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Meegs, what's your take?
I think there's also the aspect of music's changing role in media. It's almost like it's now a soundtrack to someone's content. Like, it's such a visual heavy world, but people use music to choreograph like the stage of their life. So people make music so that it can be used a certain way. And that always changes the way it sounds and who gets success out of music. So I don't think we have like the tools to compete. I mean, now our time is split and our funds are split because we're on the audio side and we have to catch up with visual. And like Nasiphi was saying, there's an element of hyper accessibility. You can just stream whoever you want. You don't have to go and watch them live. And when Blood Honey was talking about their experience, they used to have the same entourage, the same crowd follow them from gig to gig. We don't get that anymore because we'd be broke and like trashed in the liver by Wednesday. You know, like there's no way to keep up that lifestyle at this level. So it's really hard for people to participate in a scene, let alone ask a musician to cultivate one.
I'm finding that a lot of the younger guys are getting involved in music now, and that energy that they're bringing is some of the most refreshing shit that I've ever seen. Like, honestly, like, and as I'm talking about guys like, Levi,
PR, dude.
Kyle, his band, they're youngsters. They're like fresh. They're like completely fresh blood. And you know what? They are making an effort to be at every alternative event they can possibly be at.
And they show up in numbers as well.
Like, if there is bands playing, you can guarantee that those lads are going to be there because they just want to engage with local music. And it's incredible. Like, I absolutely respect it.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be a pattern with the younger crowd as well, because even Peg was at the show last night. And it's what I was saying to Meagan as well, in that they don't only just show up like when it comes to shows. We did the Peg interview. I think it was in October. I don't remember when, but that was within this year has probably had the most streams of any other episode, and you'll find that it's because these guys support each other. Like, it's not just like Levi will bring, some of his schoolmates, he'll bring some of his bandmates, who will bring another mate of his and all that, and they come in like a pack and they're like a group and everything. So perhaps, yeah, I see what you're saying. Makes a lot of sense. The younger guys are definitely supporting a lot more, but at the same time, I don't think that means that the older guys are are wrong. Perhaps they just have grown out of it in a way. I don't know. Not making excuses for them, but it could be.
I don't know about growing out of it. Maybe just tired.
Yeah.
I want to ask, going back to that charismatic experience, if we sort of want some sort of theatricalness to the live shows that will make us really like buy the tickets, go to the front, how does that interact with everyone's push for authenticity?
It's a skill. It's this thing is like your charisma, your stage presence is a skill. That doesn't mean you have to be inauthentic about it, but it's something that the same way that you have to practice your instrument, you have to practice your presence, you have to practice your ability to engage with a crowd. It doesn't mean that you have to be inauthentic, but you have to be able to engage with people, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not engaging with them, they're not going to want to watch you anymore, because they're not getting anything out of it, unless they're there specifically for the music, which, let's be honest, not everyone is there for. Some people are there for the experience and just the experience. And like I stand by it. It's a skill. It's a skill you practice.
I agree. Because for me, it was something I learned kind of from gig to gig and year to year, that it is such a crucial part. It's not just how well you play your music, or if your music is, tight, but there needs to be that performative element, because that's what we're doing. We're performing in a space, on a stage or wherever. But often when we think of bringing that sort of extra performativity in, we think it's loud and in your face and like high energy. It doesn't have to be. It just has to feel authentic. I mean, I saw a gig by Sabine, and it's sort of heavily inspired by 80s synth pop. And, they all wore black, and the synth player was just standing there, like plodding on the synth, deadpan face and straight, not moving, not dancing or anything, but it was part of this. They had found their thing. They had found their performance space, their performance voice, and super engaging and super fun, and it was not loud energy or aggressive movement, but I think it just adds value to the performance. Yeah.
Why do you ask that, Meeks? Do you feel like it sort of takes away from the authenticity instead of adding value, as Thomas said?
No, well, I'm not necessarily saying that they're competing ideas. I'm more interested in how they interact with each other.
I hope that answers the question.
There's no wrong answer. None at all.
I think while we still have an opportunity, Tama, you obviously have to go. Perhaps you can get some of your handles, and maybe even briefly, just what plans are for 2023.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the handles, it's on Instagram where I'm most active. That's Tamagotchi-JEEZUS. The Jesus part is spelled JEEZUS. It's all one word. Yeah, and I've got some really exciting things happening next year. Some I cannot speak about, and some I can. And the one I can talk about is, I think last time I was telling you that we had organized a really dope cinematographer and director for our bedtime at 3 a.m. video. And since we had that chat, we've actually shot the video, and I've got the raw footage on my computer right now, and it is, if you don't mind me saying, really, really cool, dude. Like such a dope aesthetic. So I can't wait for that to be sort of cut up and polished and given to the world. So that we have to look forward to from my side.
Give us a quick release date there. Ballpark.
I reckon February, January, end of Jan, early Feb.
Looking forward to it, man. Really looking forward to it. It sounds like it's wholesome. But yeah, dude, just thank you for joining us for this chat. Really appreciate all your input. You know, always amazing, an amazing human being, and everything that you said is very valuable. So I really hope that it's a learning point for anyone that's listening to this as well. And it's been a privilege having you on. So thanks, bro. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, for having me. I always love it here. It's amazing.
You're welcome anytime, brother. So have a good one. Enjoy your dinner.
All right.
And we'll chat soon.
Ciao. All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.
You're moving on. You're moving on today. Why can't I love you, baby? Because you're moving on today. I got that feeling, got that feeling, okay. I got that feeling, hey girl. You're moving on today. Got that feeling, baby, that we go our separate ways. Got that. The finest way. Oh, remember we were outside, how you did me back then. We would do it all night, and then when I walk you home, I'll be hitting up your phone, and you hit me right back saying, I want you, yeah, I need you, I want you, I need you. Remember we were outside, how you did me back then. We would do it all night again. After I walk you home, I'll be hitting up your phone, and you hit me right back saying, I need you, tonight. We're going home. go to